Well, it's official. You can legally fuck and get fucked for money in Canada. Canada's Supreme Court decided that 3 anti-prostitution laws were unconstitutional. Those laws? A law that prohibited brothels, which is pretty self-explanatory. A law that didn't allow you to live off the avails of prostitution, which is a fancy way of saying you can earn a living from blowies or banging. And a law that restricted communicating in public with clients, which meant a lady of the evening wasn't allowed to walk up to a dude on the street and offer to fuck him in exchange for cash. This seems like a very Canadian thing to do, by the way, whereas the US would make a big deal about actually legalizing something. Canada just says something isn't fair, and then all of a sudden, by default, it's allowed. Now, my first line is a little misleading, because in Canada, there is no law that says you can't fuck for money, and there never has been. If you want to give your best friend's sister $50 for a quick header and she says sure, that's fine as summer wine. However, what they did instead was made laws outlawing the various actions that would lead to prostitution, which, again, very Canadian thing to do. Canadians stereotypically like to avoid confrontation wherever possible, so instead of facing the issue head-on like adults, we dance around it like a bunch of fucks. So, it wasn't illegal to exchange money for sex, but it was illegal to make a living off of it? So what, you're only supposed to do it as a fucking hobby? I guess if you work at Timmy's and only suck dick for money on your smoke break, it's fine. And technically, even though the Supreme Court said these laws are unconstitutional, the government gets a year to rewrite them to make them constitutional, and technically, they can still be enforced. This is why the rest of the world sees this as a bunch of puss cakes. Overall, I've never had an issue with the idea of legalized prostitution. Personally, I wouldn't pay someone for sex, but personally, I wouldn't pay someone to vacuum or dust. Doesn't mean I think it should be illegal to be a maid. But some people do have a problem with prostitution, including Kim Pate, Executive Director of the Canadian Association of blah blah fucking blah. She had this to say: "It's a sad day that we've now had confirmed that it's okay to buy and sell women and girls in this country. I think generations to come, our daughters, their granddaughters, and on, will look back and say, what were they thinking?" Kimmy here is apparently a fucking moron that doesn't know the difference between prostitution, a human being willingly and consensually selling their services, and by services I mean the use of their mouths and pussies for an hour or so, and human trafficking, where pieces of shit sell unwilling women to be fucked. There is a tremendous difference. And we haven't confirmed that it's okay, Kim. There are laws against human trafficking. You can't buy a woman. You can pay her for services rendered. Or does Kim Pate think you actually purchase a hairdresser when you go to get your fucking haircut? Other reasons people are against prostitution: it's immoral and a sin, which, who fucking cares? Bible thumpers can lick a taint. No one cares. And whether you're religious or not, there's a pretty simple solution. Don't fuck for money. There. Now you're not being immoral or sinning. Well done, you're better than other people. Go down to the trophy shop and get yourself a fucking medal. It also apparently breaks up families because, you see, men will cheat on their wives with prostitutes. Hookers aren't an impulse buy like a Snickers at the grocery store checkout. Guys aren't like, oh, a prostitute. Guess I should fuck her instead of my wife today. Cheating is the result of unhappiness or someone just being a piece of shit. If someone's gonna cheat, even if you could somehow eliminate the entire idea of a person giving another person money for sexual intercourse, they'd still fucking cheat on their wives with someone. Lots of people out there willing to fuck for free, which brings me to my next point. There's no law against going to a bar, buying a girl a drink or 9, and should she be interested, taking her home for some adult playtime, but you can't cut out the middleman and just give the girl the money. In fact, this gives me an idea for how all sex workers can solve their problems everywhere. If you're a hooker with the entrepreneurial spirit, feel free to steal this because I'm too busy. First, you open a bar. This bar doesn't have to serve alcohol, it can fucking serve water. This comes with some minor headaches. You're gonna need a license to run a restaurant, and you might have to pass certain health codes, but you'd have to do all that if prostitution was legal anyway. And you should be able to pass any health inspection pretty easily when your bar doesn't actually serve alcohol or food. The kitchen should be goddamn spotless. The guy comes up to a girl and says, "Can I buy you a drink?" They go to the bartender, an administrator who looks after ensuring the girls are paid. This bartender pours her a drink, water, and hands it to her, and the man hands the guy whatever the hell they're charging for sex, because There's nothing illegal about charging $50, $100, $200, whatever for a glass of water. Then one of them says, "You want to get out of here?" The other says yes. They go somewhere and fuck. Girl comes back and at the end of her shift collects her cut, because there's also nothing illegal about a bar paying a girl to stand around and have drinks purchased for her. Which, by the way, will keep her hydrated all night, so that's another bonus. And everyone's happy. There. No need to wait for your government. I just made prostitution legal pretty much everywhere. You're fucking welcome.